Welcome back, everybody. We are going to be looking at lesson 2-4 today, which is on two-step equations and what to do when you have other things going on with those two-step equations. So let's go ahead and get our notebooks out and let's get started. I'm going to go to my screen here. There we go. Sorry about that. Took a minute for my computer to recognize what it was seeing. Okay, so this is lesson 2-4, and it is on two-step equations. So I'm going to start by telling you a story. You guys know I like stories, and stories can help us really connect things. So I'm going to tell you a story about Joe and Jim, his best friend. I'm going to give Jim spiky hair, and Bob. Let's see. We'll give Bob kind of a updo. How about that? Okay, so here's my story. Joe and Jim, they're best friends. They are like peas and carrots. They are together all the time, and they're really hard to get separated. Bob is kind of like his friend, like their friend. They hang out with Bob a lot, but he's not as like this best friend. Um, so they are all three hanging out at Jim's house one night, and Jim's mom comes in and says, "Oh, Jim, I didn't realize that you had two friends over. I ordered pizza, but I only ordered enough pizza for one friend. So you're going to have to ask one of your friends to go home." So, well, it's maybe not the nicest thing in the world. What most people probably will do will make their not so best friend go home first. And then it's just the two best friends left over. Well, so Joe and Jim, they get their pizza. They go back to Jim's room, and they're hanging out. And Jim's mom comes in again and says, "Oh, Jim, it's time for Joe to go home because you've got chores to do, you've got homework to do. I need you to take out the trash, and you can't do your homework with Joe there, so you've got to be by yourself." So then Joe then is the best friend. He's going to go home next. So how does this relate to two-step equations? Well, here's how we're going to relate it. So we're going to say 2x plus 3 equals 8. First thing we're going to do is draw our algebra wall. So notice that Joe and Jim were like best friends. They were really, really close together. That's our 2 and our x. They're your best friends. And then Bob was the not so best friend. He's a little farther away. The 3 is the not so best friend. So we're going to take that story and we're going to relate it to the order that we are going to be putting these in. So we had to send Bob home first. So the not so best friend, this guy right here, is the one that's going to get sent home first. So if we're going to get rid of 3, how do we get rid of 3? Well, we take away 3. So we're going to use inverse operations. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. We're going to have 0 here because positive 3 and negative 3 is a 0 pair, which leaves 2x equals 5. Well, now here's our besties, right? They had their pizza together, they're hanging out, and remember, Jim's mom said that Joe had to go home. Well, the 2 is the best friend. The 2 is Joe. They're really close together, they're hanging out, and so we've got to get rid of him. Well, to get rid of the 2, we're going to undo it using inverse operations. So 2 times x is multiplication. So we are going to undo it by dividing by 2. And this works because now 2 over 2 is 1, or 1x. Well, 1x we know is the same thing as just x, and that's how it works. So this becomes a big 1. But remember, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. And so we are just going to leave 5 over 2 as 5 over 2. You could change it to 2.5 if you want, but by now you know that I prefer simplified improper fractions. We can also check these. So once again, equations can always be checked because they can always be checked. then you shouldn't ever get any of these wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to plug back in 5 over 2 into the x place plus 3. We're going to go back to our original equation and we're going to solve and see if this side equals this side. So we know that the 2 and the 2 are going to cancel because it's just 2 over 1, so 1 on top, 1 on bottom, which just leaves 5 plus 3 equals 8, and 5 plus 3 does equal 8. So it's checked and we know that our answer is correct. All right, so let's try one more problem. Let's try this one. Let's try 4x plus 1 equals 18. So again, algebra well, here are our best friends. Here's our not so best friend. And so we're going to get rid of our not so best friend first. Is a positive 1. We're going to subtract 1. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. That gives us our 0 because we're getting rid of it. And we have 4x equals 17 left over. So now we need to get the best friend sent home. So this is multiplied. We are going to divide. Whatever we do to one side, have to do the other side. There's our 1s. We have 1x or just x becomes 17 over 4. Again, we can check by plugging it back in. Plus 1 should equal 18. Our 4s again are going to cancel, 1 on top, 1 on bottom, which leaves us with 17 plus 1, which does equal 18. So it checked. Okay, so now we are going to talk about, well, what happens if you need to deal with fractions? So I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a couple of different ways of dealing with some really nasty looking problems. So let's say we've got 1/2 x plus 8 equals 3 over, I don't want to do 6 because that's not simplified, 3 over 5. And I don't like fractions. So this is called killing the fraction. If we kill the fraction, what we're going to do is we are going to get rid of the fraction altogether. It's going to be gone completely, so we don't have to deal with fractions anymore. And the way you do this is you multiply the entire thing by a common denominator. So we're going to look, our denominators are 2 and 5. So we need a common multiple. So we count by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and we count by 5s, 5, 10. And we know that 10 is the biggest one. So we're going to take this and we're going to multiply this whole thing by 10. We're going to multiply it by a common denominator. So we're going to essentially do distributive property, and we're going to do it to absolutely everything. So the first thing that you have is 1/2 times 10. Well, if we've got a 10 on top and a 2 on bottom, that can become a 5. 1 times 5 is just 5. So that first term is going to become a 5x. Now we have 10 times 8. Well, we know that 8 times 10 is 80. So that's going to be plus 80. And this last one, we have 3/5 times 10. Again, 10 over 1. So we've got a 10 on bottom or 10 on top and a 5 on bottom, which makes that a 2. If we simplify it, 3 times 2 is 6. So this would equal 6. So from here, then you can solve it just like you normally would. So you would look and take your not so best friend and get him on the other side. There's your 0. So now we have 5x equals negative 72. I'm sorry, 74. And we would divide by 5 and divide by 5, and that doesn't simplify. So our answer would be negative 74 over 5. And that's how you kill a fraction. So we go from a nasty problem to a nice, pretty neat problem that we can solve. The other thing, you can also use this with killing the decimal. So we're going to kill the decimal this time. So let's say I've got 0.2 minus 0.08x equals 1.33. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to count the decimal places. Count the decimal places. So this one has 1 decimal place. This one has 2 decimal places. This one has 2 decimal places. So you are going to use the largest. So 2 is the largest. So we're going to use 2. And what we're going to do is we are going to move the decimal to the right. the largest number of decimal places. So in this case, 2 is the largest number of decimal places. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it 1, 2. If there's a hole, fill it with a 0. So this now becomes a 20. The 0.08, 1, 2, that is just 8, so minus 8x. And then this one, 1.33, we're going to move it to 1, 2, and that's going to equal 133. And then from there, you can solve your problem without a decimal or a fraction. So it's called killing the decimal. Now, the second part of this is you are going to start seeing some problems that might look like this. So 3x plus 8 plus 2x plus 1 equals 10. And so we know that we've got a bunch of like terms over here. So if you remember, we learned how to combine like terms. We box our numbers, and this one is a like term with this one, and we combine them. So we have 5x plus 9 equals 10. And then from there, we solve just like normal. We would take away our 9 from both sides. Whatever you do to one side, have to do to the other. And we have 5x equals 1. Get rid of your 5 by dividing. And we have x equals 1 over 5. And then you could plug it back in and check. Just make sure you go back to your original problem. You might also see some that have distributive property. So you might see 2 times x plus 3 equals 11. So in this case, you would do distributive property first. So you would have 2x plus 6, so 2 times 3 is 6, equals 11. And then again, you would go back to your two-step equations and you would solve just like you've been solving. And you get x equals 5 over 2. Then you could take that and you could plug it back in and see if it worked. So that is all for lesson 2-4, two-step equations. This is basic stuff that you've learned before. You learned this in pre-algebra. So if you need help with that, I went through that pretty quickly. If you need help, let me know, and I will be more than happy to help you out and do some more problems with you. So until next time, we will see you again.